Welcome back, everyone, to another summary of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Brought to you by AniMonolith. Continuing from where we left off, the scene shifts back to the command center. Rimuru was overwhelmed, shocked, confused, and a little bit proud. The Empire's decoy forces, the entire tank division and air assault division, had been wiped out. No survivors. It wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. On Tempest's side, 0 casualties. Thanks to every soldier carrying 10 healing potions and using them wisely, there wasn't a single death. What stood out to Rimuru were the opponents taken down by Zonda, Valon, and Hakurou. These soldiers were far above regular troops and even wielded legendary-grade holy equipment. Rimuru recalled Gadra's intel. It was likely they were part of the Imperial Royal Guard. Thankfully, they had been eliminated quickly before causing any serious harm. He also noticed Hakurou slashing through enemies while calmly repeating, "Forgive me for showing no mercy. Lord Rimuru has ordered us to fight with full force." Rimuru cringed. He half wished he could take that order back. He was also worried about Heriju, who had used the powerful Dragon Warrior technique, temporarily gaining strength equal to a Dragonoid. While it boosted their strength for 10 minutes, the aftermath left them completely paralyzed. They would be out of commission for the next 24 hours, a steep price to pay. Looking over at Benimaru, Rimuru noticed a chilling expression on his face. The strategist was torn, glad for the win, but a little salty. After all that planning, baiting, tank traps, decoys, it was all rendered moot by Testarossa and Ultima wiping out nearly the entire enemy army in minutes, and both of them were under Rimuru's direct command. Benimaru turned and smiled, ominously. "Lord Rimuru, I think you owe us an explanation." Cornered, Rimuru had no choice but to spill the truth. How Diablo had recruited Primordials, the original Demon Lords, and named them. At first he was worried about their reactions, but to his surprise, everyone took it well. Benimaru, Sue, Shuna, and Geld showed 0 prejudice. They accepted Testarossa, Ultima, and even Carrera as allies without question. "If our lord trusts them, so do we," they said. What made Rimuru blush was Benimaru's playful jab. "You should have just trusted us from the start." Rimuru could only chuckle nervously and wonder how people like Gabiru and Gobta would react. Moving on to battle results, Rimuru had obtained 240,000 souls from the enemy. Raphael, his ultimate skill, informed him that these souls could be used to evolve subordinates via the Soul Corridor. Out of everyone, 12 had qualified: Ranga, Benimaru, Shion, Gabil, Geld, Diablo, Testarossa, Ultima, Carrera, Kumara, Zegion, and Adelman. But here's the catch. Evolving each one would cost 100,000 souls. That meant, for now, Rimuru could only evolve 2 of them. Still, something felt off. A warning tugged at his instincts. Raphael may say it's safe, but Rimuru sensed some deeper danger, especially during wartime. Not to mention, choosing who to evolve first was no easy task. And speaking of war, it was far from over. The Empire still had 700,000 troops closing in on all sides of Tempest. Of those, 350,000 had already entered the dungeon. Rimuru still had 170,000 elite troops from the Yellow Corps, plus tens of thousands of dungeon monsters. While the enemy outnumbered them, Tempest's quality was vastly superior. Rimuru was confident. Command assignments were clear. Diablo would stay back and guard the core. Testarossa and Ultima would clean up the battlefield near Jura. Shion, after begging to be let loose, finally got permission. Carrera and Geld were already charging into battle. The dungeon's Elite 10 were itching to prove themselves. With the dungeon's immortality effect, Tempest had the advantage. The more the enemy entered, the more leverage Rimuru gained. But he knew one thing: if a large-scale war broke out above ground, Tempest would suffer heavy damage. So the key now wasn't just to win, it was to control the battlefield, draw the enemy deeper, and make them want to go into the dungeon. And so, the war raged on. We now turn our attention to Calgurio, the overconfident commander of the Empire's armored corps, who's proudly marching 700,000 soldiers straight into the mouth of hell. At this point, Calgurio still had no idea what had happened to his tank division and air assault division. The last report he received said they had encountered Veldora. Considering how intense that battle must be, and with the thick magicule concentration in the forest jamming communications, Calgurio just assumed that the delay was technical. He wasn't worried. After all, Lieutenant General Gaster, and Major General Faraj were among the best the Empire had. Each was backed by hundreds of thousands of elite troops and equipped with magic technology beyond belief. Failure? Not in his dictionary. So, with smug confidence, Kalgurio turned his attention to the labyrinth gate standing before him. On it was carved a line that read, "The weak should stay away." He chuckled. How naive. How utterly childish, he thought. Did Rimuru really believe such scare tactics would stop the Empire? Kalgurio believed Rimuru was just trying to hide his treasure from being looted, just like any desperate nation would during a war. But little did he know, this wasn't hiding, this was bait. Still, in his mind, the labyrinth was nothing more than a glorified vault. He was ready to kick the doors open, steal the loot, and walk out a legend. For an empire with a force of 700,000, food was a very important issue. However, his troops had been magically and scientifically modified to survive for a week without food or water. Each soldier carried 20 nutrient-packed rations, enough for 27 days of sustained combat. Water could be created with magic. Logistics were airtight. As for the West, Kalgurio trusted that Gladium and the Magic Beast Corps would take care of them. That meant he could focus on conquering the dungeon and become a war hero. He imagined the headlines: Kalgurio, Slayer of the Demon Lord, Victor of the Labyrinth. He could already see the Emperor pinning medals on his chest. So began the grand entry. Wave after wave of soldiers poured into the dungeon, without the faintest idea of what they were walking into. The Labyrinth didn't refuse visitors. It welcomed them, even if they broke the rules, even if they underestimated it. But there was one crucial detail Kalgurio missed. The safety locks had been turned off. This was no longer the trial version of the dungeon. This was its true form. And what awaited inside was hell itself. Meanwhile, deep in the 100th floor of the labyrinth, in a room so secret even Rimuru didn't know it existed, a high-level war council was taking place. The dungeon's Elite 10, also known as the 10 Lords of the Labyrinth, were gathered. The atmosphere? Tense, serious, unusually quiet. At each corner of the massive chamber stood one of the 4 Dragon Kings: fire, ice, wind, and earth. In the center, a black round table. Seated around it were Kumara, Apito, Adelman, Albert, Gadra, and even the usually loudmouthed Gozer and Macer, now sitting in the back row, obedient and dead silent. Why? Because everyone in that room could turn them into paste with a flick of a finger. Ever since Adelman was praised by Rimuru and promoted to the 70th floor, the argument over who's the strongest in the labyrinth had been getting out of hand lately. Everyone wanted a shot at proving themselves and getting recognized. Kumara, who guarded the nearly untouched 90th floor, had been itching for battle and was visibly annoyed at Apito, who had recently thrashed the Holy Knights. The two were at each other's throats, verbally of course. Spicy words, but no real hatred. Just pride, jealousy, and a thirst for recognition. 2 hours passed. The debates faded as Beretta stood and dropped the bomb. The labyrinth is under invasion. Silence. The playful bickering stopped. Everyone snapped to attention. The war wasn't theoretical anymore. Then, with perfect timing, Yahoo! Party time! Veldora and Ramirez made their grand entrance. The true meeting began. Ramirez wasted no time. The Empire had invaded the labyrinth with an army of 700,000. Rimuru's instructions were clear. Lure as many soldiers inside as possible, then crush them. Instead of letting the army crawl down to the 50th floor, Ramirez would teleport batches of 10,000 directly to floors 41 and below, gradually filling each level with troops. From the 40th to the 50th floor, there will be 100,000 people so that the soldiers feel that they still have a chance to win. So this area will not be guarded by a boss. From the 51st to the 60th floor, 100,000 troops, handled by the Golem Corps. From the 61st to the 70th floor, 100,000 troops, the domain of Adelman and Albert. From the 71st to the 80th floor, 100,000 troops, guarded by Apito and Zedjian. From the 81st to the 90th floor, 100,000 troops, ruled by Kumara. And from the 90th floor up, each Dragon King will face 10,000 enemy troops. Total capacity, 540,000 soldiers. The rest would be handled above ground or held in reserve. Ramirez also warned them, somewhere among the soldiers is a threat strong enough to endanger Rimuru's life. Benimaru was already searching for this mysterious individual, but the risk was real. The mood shifted from competitive to deadly serious. With that, Ramirez gave the final orders. You're free to fight your way. Just don't let anyone out alive. The floor guardians were fired up. The petty rivalries were shelved. Everyone understood the stakes now. With the Empire's invasion underway, the Labyrinth was transformed into a true battlefield. And the rules had changed. The Labyrinth's maximum troop capacity was now 540,000 soldiers at once. The floor structure had also been remodeled. Instead of 100 levels, there were now only 60, with the entry point relocated to floor 30. The 4 Dragon Kings were moved to floors 91 to 94, and their domains were expanded tenfold to maximize combat potential. But the real twist? The rules for clearing the Labyrinth were now a brutal gauntlet. To challenge Veldora, you must collect all 10 keys, each held by a member of the dungeon's Elite 10. Only then could you face the Otaku Dragon, and only by defeating him could you escape the Labyrinth. This system gave every boss a spotlight, turning the entire Labyrinth into a proving ground. This also brought a shakeup to the Elite 10's ranks. Beretta, originally listed as a member purely to round out the number, requested to step down from the team. He'd rather stay by Ramirez's side than deal with the chaos of war. Rimuru approved the request and Gadra was appointed in his place. Now the official guardian of Floor 60, operating under the new title, Rune Master. Gadra welcomed the role. Though he knew he wasn't the strongest in the Labyrinth, he was determined to prove his worth in the coming battle. Meanwhile, Gozer and Miser, often the butt of jokes, were also given a critical task. They were to guard Floor 30, the new entry point. Their only job? Kill anything that tries to escape. Ramirez gave them clearance to eliminate any intruders, and even if they accidentally killed friendly adventurers, she promised to revive them. They were told to go all out. No mercy, no questions asked. Rimuru also said that he would be watching this battle too. It's a chance for him to see what we've been up to, not just to decide who will be the next head. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Faces turned cold and determined. Even Zegyan, the usually silent and stoic Insect Kaiser, rose to speak. Rimuru-sama will be watching us? Zegyan, trained directly by Veldora and now strong enough to hold his own against the Otaku Dragon. For the first time since the meeting, this guy spoke up. Originally a quiet and reserved person, Zegyan only cared about 2 things, strength and loyalty to Rimuru. And now he would finally get to show both. Ramirez smiled at the reaction. She might seem childish, but she was a demon lord. The rules were simple. Once you entered the Labyrinth, there was no leaving unless you won. There would be no mercy, no retreat. While the Empire fantasized about the riches inside, they had no idea they were walking into a meat grinder. The trap had been set. The bait was working. We will claim victory, a victory for Rimuru-sama. With that declaration, Zegyan stood, and the dungeon's Elite 10 followed. The real show was about to begin. Please follow the next event in the next video, guys. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos.